Donald Trump and the Republican Party have been hit with a string of bad news in the hours leading up to Donald Trump's second State of the Union speech, which up to 40 Democrats are now going to boycott in order to counter-program it. We are not going to legitimize a speech of a president who has illegitimate goals, illegitimate methods of achieving those goals, like going to war with the Supreme Court. He's going to be speaking to a Congress that he's been sidelining for the past few years. While he's been deciding to go to war, he's been deciding to place tariffs and place taxes. He's been deciding to subvert Congress every step of the way. So many Democrats are simply not showing up. But even beyond that, there is more at play here. Even beyond the boycott, we have Epstein survivors showing up so they can look Donald Trump in the eye as he speaks to the nation. So they can look Speaker of the House Mike Johnson in the eye, even as Speaker of the House Mike Johnson covers up for more sexual abuse. This is Republican Representative Tony Gonzales on screen now. And the reason why I have him on screen is because this story needs to be so much damn bigger. Now, any single Republican could nuke the Republicans' majority right now. They have a one-seat majority in the House, so Speaker of the House Mike Johnson is desperately clinging on to that majority in any way he can. If a Republican went to jail or tragically died overnight, then their majority would be gone. Well, enter Republican Representative Tony Gonzales, who has been found out to have pressured his aide into sexting him, and then that aide ended up committing suicide by lighting herself on fire due to the pressure. Now, Speaker of the House Mike Johnson is covering for this man. So I sent out a post today. I said a Republican congressman used his power to pressure his aide into sending explicit photos. She said no, and he continued to push. She later committed suicide. Speaker Mike Johnson is now downplaying the situation because it threatens his majority in Congress. Did we learn nothing from the Epstein file cover-up? We are no longer in the era where rich and powerful men can get away with covering up for other rich and powerful men. We need consequences for the Epstein administration now, including Lutnick, including Gonzalez, and many more. And even at Donald Trump's State of the Union speech today, he is going to be confronted by the Epstein victims. Democrats will be hosting a dozen survivors as guests for State of the Union. Remember, these same survivors were asked by Representative Pramila Jayapal if they've had access to the DOJ to ask questions or to tell their story. And they all unanimously raised their hand and said, we have had no access to the Department of Justice. They have been sidelining these survivors. So it's actually incredibly important that these survivors show up today to look Speaker of the House Mike Johnson in the eyes. We're going to talk about that in just one moment. But to back up, to contextualize this a bit, this is off the back of Donald Trump's worst polling week thus far. This is the worst polling week out of either his first term or his second term. And on screen now, you can see a sort of map, a sort of diagram of his individual issues. This is Trump's approval on every single issue, just sinking to the depths, the lowest possible point, and it's going to continue to go lower. The only issue that isn't completely underwater is border security. Many people view him as having closed the border, but even border security is about to go underwater rapidly. Crime and public safety is just dropping rapidly. The fact that he pardoned 1,600 J6ers on day one and his crime and public safety record didn't just immediately plummet is wild, but immigration dropping, deportations dropping, education dropping, foreign policy, jobs in the economy, trade with other countries. His overall approval rating is dropping. Healthcare approval rating is uniquely dropping, especially heading into this new year. And then prices and inflation, he is super underwater on. He has not delivered whatsoever. Here's his approval rating with Latinos in February of 2025 compared to now. 1 year ago, it was 41%, which is crazy high. Now it's 22% with people under 25. 45% a year ago, 27% today. With independents, 41% a year ago, 26% today. This is abysmal. This is awful for Donald Trump. And remember, this is coming at a time when the Republican Party can't stop covering up for perverts. Aaron Rupar says, wow, Mike Johnson only took 2 questions today during the House Republican press conference. He usually takes at least 4 or 5, and neither question was about Representative Tony Gonzales. Johnson is refusing to call for Gonzalez's resignation, even following the release of texts showing Gonzales pressured an aide who later committed suicide for sexually explicit photos. and they want us to legitimize the State of the Union. They want us to legitimize a State of the Union where Representative Tony Gonzales is welcome and where some Democrats aren't welcome. That is why the People's State of the Union is being put on by us, by MeidasTouch, as a unison, as a company. So make sure you drop a like and subscribe to the Adam Mockler feed. We work with MeidasTouch on a daily basis. Senator Ed Markey will be there. Senator Jeff Merkley will be there. Senator Chris Murphy will be there. Senator Tina Smith, people who are saying, F the State of the Union, we are doing our own thing. I want to show you this clip of Representative Tony Gonzales that was from a few months back, where he's talking about Matt Gaetz. He's throwing other Republicans under the bus for being creeps, but guess what? He turned out to be the creep all along.
He will survive. Look, the House is a rough and rowdy place, but Mike Johnson is going to be just fine. I served 20 years in the military. It's my absolute honor to be in Congress, but I served with some real scumbags. Look, Matt Gaetz, he paid minors to have sex with him at drug parties. Bob Good endorsed my opponent, a known neo-Nazi. These people used to walk around with white hoods at night. Now they're walking around with white hoods in the daytime.
And now they're walking around with a red tie and shadowing Donald Trump day in and day out. Here's what Thomas Massie had to say about Gonzales.
Tony Gonzales, you've said that he needs to resign. What will be your message to Speaker Johnson and some of your other Republican colleagues who have been silent on the issue?
Well, I think they're looking past his egregious transgressions to keep a slim majority here in the House. But I think they run the risk of losing the whole majority in November if they don't address this.
Do you think he could survive this as a congressman?
I doubt it. I mean, maybe the voters in Texas will decide this in his primary here in a few days. But in the meantime, I think we're not well served by the damage it does to the GOP's reputation, particularly in light of the effort they made to keep the Epstein stuff covered.
Yes, okay, exactly. Thomas Massie, just keep in mind, he votes with Donald Trump like 88% of the time. He's still very, very right-wing, but he at least is principled on a few things where it really matters. The Epstein files, that really matters. And then he doubles down and says, no, even if this guy will lose us the majority, I'm not going to be in Congress with someone who did the same thing that we've been fighting against. We're not going to cover that up. MeidasTouch points out, Mike Johnson thinks it's detestable that Democrats are boycotting Trump's State of the Union. Kind of funny, Mike Johnson is responding to what we're doing at MeidasTouch, but he's perfectly fine with the cover-up of child sex trafficking and the disturbing details surfacing about Representative Tony Gonzales. Here is Donald Trump today getting a medal from the U.S. men's Olympic hockey team. You know, this would be like funny and cute if it were any other president, but this is just despicable. This is about the fourth medal / trophy / peace prize that he's been given since he took office because he's just a baby.
I'll trade you that for a pen. Hey, that's cool. There we go.
Is he going to put that next to his FIFA peace prize? Is he going to put that next to what is that right there? The prize that Machado gave him? His Nobel Peace Prize that he was gifted by Machado? Just disgusting. Let me show you Mike Johnson being asked about Tony Gonzales.
Mr. Speaker, why should Tony Gonzales resign given these very serious accusations?
There are serious accusations, and it must be taken seriously. And I've told him he's got to address that with his constituents, and he's in the process of doing that. Is my understanding. There's an investigation in the state of Texas on these matters, and has been going for some time. And the Office of Congressional Conduct has also, it's been reported, they've been looking at it.
He's such a slime ball. His way of not answering very important questions is so incredibly slimy, and we will continue to talk about it. If you appreciate these videos, drop a like, subscribe. I'll see you in the next one, and peace out.